All right, today we're jumping into a really fascinating story from the front lines of the AI revolution. It's all about S4 Capital, a big digital agency, and what their latest earnings call just revealed. And trust me, it's a big deal. They're basically at this massive crossroads betting their entire future on AI. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so right off the bat, we've got a real head-scratcher. The digital ad market, it's doing just fine, growing at about 5%. So you'd think a big digital player like S4 would be sailing along, right? Well, nope. Look at their numbers. Their revenue is actually down by more than 8%. That just doesn't add up.
So what on earth is going on? How is this even possible? That's the core question we're going to break down right now.
Well, it all starts with this massive pressure cooker that the entire agency world finds itself in. I mean, the way these companies have made their money for forever, really, it's starting to break down. The old model is just not working anymore.
And look, this isn't just an S4 problem. This is happening everywhere. Their clients are getting super smart and really, really cautious with their money. They're looking at every single line item, every dollar, and asking, is this really worth it?
This quote right here from S4's Chief Growth Officer just nails it. He says clients are putting pressure on what they call non-working spend. Think about that for a second. Non-working. That's what they're calling agency fees now. It's not seen as an investment anymore. It's just overhead, something to cut. Wow, that is a brutal change.
So if they're not giving that money to agencies, where's it going? This chart tells the whole story. Just look at the big tech firms, usually the biggest spenders. Their marketing budgets? Flat. No growth. But they're spending on building their own AI systems. It's skyrocketed, up a staggering 133%. They're basically taking that agency money and bringing it all in-house to build their own AI marketing engines.
Okay, so when you're facing a threat like that, and it really is an existential threat, you can't just tinker around the edges. And S4 isn't. They've hatched this incredibly bold escape plan. They are going all in, betting the entire company on becoming an AI-first organization.
And the core of this whole bet is something they built called Monks.Flow. Now, this isn't just them using ChatGPT or some other tool you can buy. No. This is their own custom platform, a whole system that bundles AI software with their services to totally reinvent how they do work for their clients.
And they have a really clear playbook for how they do this. It's a three-step dance. First, they come in and just assess where the client is at with AI. What do they need? Then they get to work building custom AI workflows just for them. And this last part is key. They actually help the client's teams change the way they work. Because having the tech is one thing, but actually using it effectively, that's a whole different ballgame.
But here's the thing. Changing your tech is only part of the puzzle. Think about it. If AI lets you do a job in 1 hour that used to take 10, you can't bill by the hour anymore, right? You'd go broke. So S4 realized they had to blow up their entire business model too.
The old way, billing for hours, it's like paying a taxi driver to sit in traffic. The longer it takes, the more they make. It actually punishes them for being efficient. So the new model flips that on its head. It's more like a subscription. Clients pay for the outcome, for the result. And as S4's AI gets smarter and faster, the client gets more and more value. Suddenly, everyone wants the same thing: better, faster results.
I mean, listen to this quote from one of their execs. The billable hour has had a great run, but it's not a long-term viable model. That's it. That's the whole story. They're basically saying that chapter is over. It's done. There is no turning back.
All right, so that's the big idea. It sounds pretty good on paper, right? But does it actually work in the real world? Let's look at a perfect example. The brand Mr. Muscle. Yeah, the cleaning guy.
So check this out. S4 used their AI platform to completely reboot the Mr. Muscle character. Normally, a project like this, with animation and all that, takes years. They did it in a matter of months. But here's the real magic. They didn't just make a new ad. They built an entire AI engine around the character. It has its own knowledge base, so it can generate brand new, super local content for places like TikTok and China, like on the fly. They didn't just refresh an old mascot. They turned him into a nonstop AI-powered content factory.
So okay, the strategy is super clear, and that Mr. Muscle example is pretty compelling. But let's be real, a change this big doesn't happen overnight, and it definitely doesn't happen without some pain. Let's take a look at the numbers and see what this transformation actually costs.
To pull this off, to actually fund this huge pivot to AI, S4 had to tighten its belt. I mean, really tighten it. And that meant they had to make some incredibly tough choices.
First up, that number we started with, that painful 8.4% drop in revenue. That's the direct result of clients cutting that non-working spend we talked about. And then there's the human side of this. They reduced their total headcount by 11.5%. That's a lot of people. It's a tough, direct consequence of rebuilding the company around AI instead of just people. But all that painful discipline had a massive payoff on the balance sheet. Look at this. They cut their net debt by almost 40% in just 1 year. That gives them a much stronger foundation to build on.
And maybe the most important number of all is this one. Their free cash flow more than doubled. This is the proof in the pudding, right? It shows that the new, leaner, AI-driven model is actually working. They're generating the cash they need to keep investing in the future.
Now, despite all these good financial signs, S4 is being very clear. They are not out of the woods yet. Their forecast for the next year is still pretty cautious. They're telling everyone that this transformation is a marathon, not a sprint.
And that leaves us with the big final question. Is S4 Capital carving out the path that every other agency is going to have to follow to survive? Is this the blueprint for the future? Or are we just watching the beginning of the end for the traditional agency model altogether? It's an enormous bet, and you can be sure the entire industry has its eyes glued on S4 to see what happens next.